sports fans. Welcome on in. It is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Proud to be a part of Utah's ESPN radio network. I'm not Sean O'Connell. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Sean today. As the introduction said, they bring in the lefty. I've been left-handed my whole life, and I'm proud of it. So, in fact, I'm a part of the Left-Handed Society of America. It's a thing. They have what are they? Retreats. They have conventions. They actually have products specifically for left-handed people. So glad you could join this
support groups too, Scott.
Yeah, support group
for when you need that.
We're
sure
we're a minimized segment of society. We're very much oppressed. We are a protected class. So I will tell you this though about left-handed people. Left-handed people. They say that the right side of your brain controls the left side of your body and vice versa. Therefore, left-handed people are the only ones in their right mind. Now, the flip side of that, they're 10% of the population is left-handed. 90% of people in insane asylums are left-handed. Good chance you're going to be in the nut house if you're left-handed. So that's what I have to look forward to.
Yeah,
but
that is disproportionate, Scott.
Yeah. Significant, yeah, and you didn't even have to do the math on that, James.
No,
so that was a good one.
Absolutely not.
We are, like I said, it's okay. I made my peace with it. Love being left-handed.
A lot of old, now very antiquated superstitions about left-handed people too.
I know.
But anyway,
crazy stuff. Look, if you can't listen to us right how you are, or if you can only listen to us part of the time how we are, you can always go and listen live on the ESPN700sports.com or the ESPN 700 app. You can also go on your smart speaker, tell it to play ESPN 700. As well as, hello, YouTube. We are on YouTube at ESPN 700 Sports Utah. Don't want to miss a moment of the show. Our show today and every day is brought to you by Les Schwab Tires. Les Schwab has the tires, wheels, and accessories for whatever you drive. Stop by your local Les Schwab today, and their professionals will get the job right the first time. I'm just so excited to be here today. I love filling in for Sean. James, you're great. It's really fun to be here. The guests that we have come on, really look forward to it. And I part of today is going to be this dissection into sports, the psychology of sports. Why do we idolize all these people, and why do we care so much about our teams, and just how I get these comments from people about there's certain things going on in sports today. They're just ruining it for everyone. And I last night I watched this documentary on Netflix, because that's what we do these days. We're streaming. We're a streaming society of left-handed people. That's what we do. Anyway, so I'm watching this on Netflix, and I'm really I want to go to bed, right? Because it's getting past 8:30, and I'm older, and I gotta go to bed.
That's late. Staying up late, Scott.
I know.
Getting past 8:30.
I pushed the envelope last night.
No, I have started in the last few years that I have had this job and the previous job here at the station that I had, where I had to get here, before 8 o'clock every day. I started to feel very old because I'm like, I can't be up past 10.
I know.
I can't be up past 10. I got to get my at least 7 hours.
It's a sign of aging. It's a sign of weakness when we have to go to bed early. So
absolutely.
I've also learned my lesson, because the last time I stayed up late to watch a documentary about a sports figure, it ended up with me texting the social world, the social media world at 3 o'clock in the morning. And it was a text that I sent. And I didn't have that experience last night.
Well, that's good.
To the same degree.
I don't know which documentary you're talking about.
Well, I'm going to tell you about it here, but we have to understand that we do these things. And,
absolutely.
And we have to understand that, we're old and we don't stay up late. So I'm watching this documentary on Brett Favre. And it wasn't Brett Favre, right? This was an attack on Brett Favre.
It was like what they would call a hit piece if it was in the newspaper, right?
They went after Brett Favre, and it was quite fascinating. It was There were parts of it that were hard to watch. Brett Favre is a contemporary of mine. We played in the same division together, played against each other on many occasions.
Get to know him fairly well?
To some degree, yeah. Back in that day, James, we hated our opponents, so they weren't necessarily our buddies. And let's face it.
You didn't hug them and trade jerseys after the game.
No one liked me. No one liked me because I was left-handed. So it's like, you're just kind of one of those weird people that's left-handed.
I'm sensing a theme with today, Scott.
Well, it's not. It's not a thing. No, I do. I love being left-handed. I really do. It's the strangest thing in the world. Like, I feel very normal. But if I watch a left-handed quarterback throw a football, I think it looks terrible. Like watching
it does
Boomer Esiason or Steve Young or Mark Brunell or anyone, Michael Vick.
Nowadays,
Michael Vick left-handed?
He might have been. He might have been.
I can't remember if he was or wasn't. He might have been right.
Nowadays, you'd think of Tua Tagovailoa. It looks strange coming out of his hand too.
Well, his is strange. Now, what you do if you watch it in a mirror, you know how things reverse the image.
Yeah.
I remember being in a hotel and they were showing some highlight of Joe Montana, and I was in the bathroom and I saw it through into the bathroom through the bedroom part of the hotel, and I was like, Joe Montana's throwing it left-handed.
Looking at the TV from the bathroom mirror.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that flipped the image around.
Yeah.
And I was like, Joe Montana looks just like me throwing it left-handed. He looks terrible. Anyways, so we have this whole thing last night. This documentary was talking about how we idolize our sports heroes, like to a point that it's ridiculous. And that was kind of part of this documentary. It was like, there are some people apparently, allegedly, more than likely, but allegedly, I'm not saying they did or didn't, that were, significantly harmed by Brett Favre. And there's very famous incident he had with, I guess, the stadium host, a female, very attractive female, who had gained a lot of notoriety in the sports world in the early 2000s. And he was trying to get her attention through text messages and voice messages and photographs, rather explicit photographs.
It ends with pick. The thing we're talking about ends with pick.
Yeah.
For picture, of course.
Yeah, of course. And of course, this woman never responded to any of this. It comes out later that he's attempting to go on a date with her and whatever.
Feels she took it as harassment.
Yes.
It got really bad for him.
Yeah. And so there were other things, this mismanagement of funds that were supposed to go to disadvantaged people in the state of Mississippi were used to build a volleyball stadium for his daughter at her college. And so there was allegedly all of this stuff. Now, whether it's true or not, we don't know. You certainly read the text messages and you kind of hear some of the conversation. You go, doesn't look really good. And we have this thing where, and the comment was, we put these athletes up on a pedestal to a point where there's this sense from the athletes that there's no responsibility. There was a comment that came out. It's like, Brett Favre is really above the rules, and he's like, and no one can really do anything about it.
Yeah, because we hear these stories, whether from that year, from you and Brett Favre's era, or even more recent ones of guys, incredibly talented players, famous athletes. They screw up, and they have a whole team of people that clean up the mess for them.
No question,
right? And make it so that if they are held accountable, it's not near as much as it would have been, and a lot of people think probably should have been.
So there's a PR campaign that comes out. It's deny, and then it's attack. Like, you go on attack, and like, you're going to get sued. You're going to have all these issues. and so these people become untouchable. And here we have these heroes, these sports fans these sports players that we idolize. I mean, I have people, James, sending me stuff constantly. I have people that are like, "Oh, I just loved when you play," and certainly not to the level of Brett Favre. He had an insane, really cult-like following with the Green Bay Packers, who are, rabid fans. He wins the Super Bowl. He's this great player, multi-year MVP. He's a guy who's a Hall of Famer, and these people love him. But then there's this other segment of people who goes, we think the guy's kind of a dirtbag.
Yeah, it's almost like the more familiar you are with these kinds of sports heroes, and it's not just sports heroes, people in all walks of life that get put on these pedestals, the more familiar you are with them, the more stories you hear about them that are not just positive and awesome. They're things that show that they're human, right? It makes you feel like, yeah, I'm not, those people are, it's a bit of a dirtbag. Yeah.
Well, but here's the thing, like, and it was brought up in this documentary. Brett Favre shows up at Green Bay today, and they will roll out the red carpet. The fans will cheer emphatically, and they'll just say all these great things. Yeah. And that's the point, is that when we have these sports heroes, we have this almost unhealthy view of them, this unhealthy worship, or this unhealthy feeling that we can't see. We have blinders on. We don't want to see for whatever reason. And that's what really struck me last night, is like, why are these fans so enamored, just so, like, to the point of, I'll just look past every possible thing that they could do, that they really, they're really kind of above any normal rules, any normal laws, any normal types of things. And other people in our society have a similar type thing that happens, and it just destroys them. This Jen Sturger, it ruined her career when all of this came out. Monica Lewinsky with the President of the United States, like, it kind of destroyed her in her life, and it's just this fascinating thing we have with these sports fans. And I'm like, why do we do that, right? And also, it's like, we have our teams. We're so rabid about our teams and how much we love our teams, and Utah Jazz fans, have this passionate view of their team, even to the point, and with Brett Favre, he left, right, and went to the Jets, and then he signed a year later with the Minnesota Vikings, and the fans were now burning Brett Favre jerseys because he
joined the rival.
He went to the dark side, and I'm scratching my head here, going, okay, this is sports, right? And I love sports, like I love sports. And we're going to talk about this in another segment about what's so great about sports. Why I love sports, what it meant and what it still means, and why it's so great and wonderful. And I believe that. But we have these circumstances. These players have problems. They have issues, and we've put them on this pedestal of greatness, like they're not mortal. Like they really can't do anything wrong.
Like, when they do screw up in a big way and hurt a lot of people, maybe hurt themselves or hurt a lot of people, or both, they still can do no wrong. Yeah. And
I know, let's just say I know things about famous people who are worshipped by a lot of people. And I know that they're human. And I know that we're all human, and we've all made mistakes, and we all do not live perfect lives. And what I find fascinating is this willingness to kind of sweep it under the rug, and kind of look the other way with everything, and that includes like the leagues themselves, where they just go, like, this guy's the face of our league, like a guy like Brett Favre, and we can't have this tarnished to our image, and so we're going to look the other way. We're going to ignore it. We're going to cover it up. We're going to we're going to spin a narrative on all of this stuff, and it's because it will do us damage. It has nothing to do with right and wrong. It has nothing to do. It has everything to do with our image and how we're viewed and how we're looked at. And I guarantee you, an organization like the NFL, probably all sports leagues are going. They probably spend millions and millions of dollars on their image and on promoting that image and what it looks like and how it looks like. And there are other situations where they go, that's going to be the sacrificial lamb. Like we can say, how dare that person do this? We will punish them.
Throw the book
in some reason.
Throw the book at someone that we can afford to be the scapegoat, and look the other way at someone we can't afford to be a scapegoat.
Well, in this documentary, there was a comment attributed to Brett Favre and how he had made a mistake and done the wrong thing, and all the people in the organization are just furious by this. Why is Brett Favre allowed to do this, and why? And the coach comes up to him and kind of chastises him a little bit. And apparently his comment was like, "What are you going to do about it? Like, you're not going to do anything about it, because I am the face of this league. I'm above reproach. I'm above the rules, and I'm above the law." And I think there's this fear, and I don't know if it's founded or not, that if we police this, that if we try to have a moral and ethical program here with our professional sports, like, we won't have a league. Like Brett Favre is probably the tip of the spear with all of the problems that are actually there. And so we're like, what choice do we have? We just because I think sports has kind of sold its soul. It's like college football, and this whole NIL thing that I hear over and over and over again about how it's ruining this game. And there is no rules for the NIL. I mean, the NIL was something that you were able to participate in once you were at a school. And once you were there, you could then go out on your own and negotiate with whomever an opportunity to use your name, image, and likeness for monetary gain. It wasn't used as they say, pay for play. And that's the only thing it is today. It's the only question out of the players' mouths. The coaches, the universities aren't even supposed to be associated with this. And somewhere along the way, they just said, oh well. And I really wonder, is that just the way it is? I mean, we talk about our federal government and politicians, they're just corrupt. And we just kind of shrug our shoulders and we say, no, it's okay. And do we do that with our sports? And do we do it from the standpoint of, as I was mentioning Jazz fans and the passion with these Jazz fans, and why I think we're so rabid as fans? It's because it makes us feel important. If our team does well, then my life is better. I'm a champion. I'm associated with these. We got the best player in the league. He's our guy, and that's part of that. And so it makes, because I believe that most of us actually live very ordinary lives. I think throughout the week, even immensely famous people. Let's take actors and actresses, right? What do they do most of? They probably just sit around most of the time. They go on a movie set once or twice a year. But after that, what do?
It's or like you know what I think about a lot, Scott, is like prize fighters.
Right.
They fight 1 or 2 fights a year. I guess some guys maybe closer to a handful of fights a year. Maybe the guys that aren't quite as big of names, they probably fight more because they need the payday more. But the biggest names, they fight once or twice a year for huge money, and then they spend the rest of the time because they need to recover between fights. But they're working out every day. They're not doing that part of the job every day.
Right, and that's what we do. We wake up, we go to work, we come home, we have our family, we have whatever. Our lives are it's not full of these dramatic moments. But to feel like I'm a part of something more, to feel like I'm, I'm from this city. I'm from the city of champions. I'm a Utah Jazz fan. I'm part of Jazz Nation. It gives you an identity that I think we all want. And if we really boiled it down, it's like, well, we want to belong to something. And if you broke it down further from belonging, it's like really all we want is just to be loved. Like that's what we all want. At the core of it, we want to feel love.
Dr. Mitchell.
And sports and having that identity, whether it's to this hero, whether it's to a team, we get so tied to the base need in our life is to feel love. And when we're willing to look past, we're willing to accept behavior and things that you should roll your eyes at and not accept, but we're willing to do it to an extent. We go because we just want to be loved. Now, for me, I can tell you I had heroes growing up, and when I met my heroes, and I did, I'm so grateful that they were so much more than I actually thought they were, and I feel fortunate for that. One of my biggest heroes in the world was Dale Murphy. I had cable television. I watched the Atlanta Braves, and my favorite guy was Dale Murphy. And I finally met Dale Murphy, and I'm like, he's so much better than I imagined. Just a wonderful human being. And I know Dale Murphy's not perfect. I mean, he's probably said gosh darn or shoot once in a while. I get it. In fact, I asked him one time, I said, look, you're the most honest person in the world. How could you steal signs? Because that's wrong. And he says, look, anything that's out in the open is public.
That's not stealing.
It's not stealing.
That's how I always have felt about sign stealing, the traditional form of sign stealing, not the trash cans with the cameras, the monstrosity that the Astros did. Like, the reason why it's so extravagant and out there is because they're trying to hide it. Yeah. But
anyways,
it's also out there anyway.
So, and then of course Gifford Nielsen.
Yeah.
Who was, my goodness, and just a wonderful human being, and so, to be able to spend time with him growing up, and how he treated me, and what a great mentor and a great example, and he was and is still my. Roger Staubach the same way. I actually worked for his company for a period of time and spent time with him in a very private, personal setting, and he was more than advertised. And I grew up loving Roger Staubach, Captain Comeback, Hail Mary, Dallas Cowboys, America's team. That was so here I talk about most of our sports heroes are kind of they're kind of wounded, they're kind of jaded, they're kind of maybe not what they are out to see, but yet mine, thank goodness for me, seriously. I was just really blessed that my childhood heroes and my sports heroes turned out better than what they were. So it's a fascinating dynamic. I was in that world. And I just tried to be a real person. I try to be a real person today, and being a real person to me is like we make mistakes, and really trying to be authentic to that, but also striving to do my best and to try hard and to live to a certain standard and live up to that standard and really try to do the right things in my life. But man, it's such a fascinating thing with sports and how we connect to these people and to these teams and how we overlook so many things is just a fascinating thing. And it was just really brought to my attention watching this documentary last night.
Yeah, real quick, just to put a local spin on guys who have sports athletes who've been idolized, but we find out they had a lot of skeletons in their closet, and a lot of people hate them for it. Karl Malone is a great local example. There's lots of people who are Jazz fans.
I don't know what you're talking about, Jim.
It sounds like, including you, Scott Mitchell, who have been willing to overlook some of the indiscretions he had as a younger man in college and in high school, where he hurt some people. And those stories came out towards the end of his career while he was still playing with Utah. And yet there's so many of us, and I do overlook it to a great extent too, because we watched him play and we thought he was awesome, right? And he brought our favorite team to such heights that they have not seen since, and he did so many great things, and he's an NBA legend. We overlook those personal indiscretions.
So Nick Saban,
just like the Green Bay Packers fans do with Brett Favre.
Nick Saban said, I have these young men, and they do stupid things. And he goes, if I just got rid of these kids every time they did something stupid, where would their life end up? And he goes,
there's
I'm
that
probably
angle
the
to it
only
too, yeah.
person in the world that actually would give someone a second chance. And I've seen the fruits of being able to do that. And some people might argue, yeah, you're just keeping them there because they're amazing. I mean, you could certainly argue both sides of this. Hey, we're going to take a break because I heard John Stockton was a dirty player, and I want Coach Gordy Chiesa to answer that question for me, because I've heard, I've watched these NBA guys talk about how Stockton, he was tough and dirty and all these things, and I want to know, was John Stockton a dirty player or was he not? Because he certainly had this choir boy look and image about himself. This is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 700. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Sean today and tomorrow. After the break, we are going to talk to Coach Gordy Chiesa. Some crazy stuff happening in the NBA playoffs and so much more here on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.
Halliburton. He'll take it. He'll backpedal, a free for the win. And goal! He got it!
All righty, sports fans, welcome back. It is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM, Utah's #1 sports talk. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Sean today and tomorrow. Of course, you can listen to my show right before the Sean Show called The Down and Dirty here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Crazy sports day, crazy highlight of last night's game. So excited to have Coach Gordy Chiesa in the studio now to talk about that craziness and so much more that's going on with the NBA playoffs, the draft, all that good stuff with basketball right now. So Coach, when someone shoots a basketball and it doinks off the rim like that, the likelihood, I mean, that ball went above the shot clock. Those shots never go in. And it dropped, I mean, pure right through the center of the basket. Your thoughts on that moment, but the crazy first game in the Eastern Conference Finals. What are your thoughts on what happened?
My thoughts were showing that the Pacers have so much heart. They were down 14 points in the final 3 minutes and were able to tie it. That last shot by Tyrese Halliburton, it was, I call the ghost of the past. It was like living in a time capsule. Let's not forget, back in 1995, which is 30 years ago, against the Knicks, it was the exact same dramatic comeback rally by the Pacers, led by the announcer on TNT last night, where Reggie Miller scored 8 points in the last 9 seconds. So when Halliburton made that shot, that's what I thought about. I thought about one for the ages as far as the game and how it repeated itself. Now, the ball up in the air, your point is well taken. It rarely ever happens. However, let's go back also to 2019 when Kawhi Leonard made that shot against the 76ers in the conference semifinals, where Scott last night's shot went up straight and went down. Back in 2019, the ball bounced 4 times on the rim.
Right.
1 bounce, 2 bounce, 3 bounce, 4 bounce, and it went in. And that was a Game 7 of the conference semifinals, and that put the Raptors into the finals. And later on, the Raptors won the NBA championship. Add to this, a long, long time ago in prehistoric times, back in 1969, many people are listening right now, ESPN 700, they weren't even born yet. I was, which is fortunate or unfortunately, how you want to look at it. Don Nelson, the former coach of the Dallas Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors, when he played for the Celtics, did the exact same shot.
Right.
Where it went up in the air high and it bounced down fortuitously straight through the net. So it does happen. Don't you love, Scott, the ghost of the past?
You really do. And like, there's part of me that just feels for those Knicks fans, you know, to have to go through kind of what they said, or you have history repeating itself so often. And to me, it's what's so great about sports is you just have those tremendous moments, but you really have to wonder how much is in your mind about the outcome of these games and seeing a repeat of I can only imagine what these Knicks friends are going through. Like, we've seen this before. We've been here before. We can't have this ever happen again.
Well, add to that, a lot of my Knicks fans were at the game last night. So they were texting me leaving the arena. And Scott, my message with them is that don't worry, go get a slice of pizza.
Well, yeah.
Go get a slice. That's that's what I was telling them.
Yeah.
Stop fretting about it. The game is over. Get ready as a fan for game 2 in Madison Garden on Friday night. Also a TNT game. Go get some slices.
So and it's a great point, because I wanted to ask you about this. So the Western Conference Final, of course, the first game was a blowout. Like the Thunder just easily took care of the T-Wolves. Which one's a harder one to come back from? Either having a tough game like this, you know, an emotional one, or you just get blown out. As a coach and getting your team back, I mean, I guess your coaching point is go get some pizza. Which one is easier to come back from and play the next game?
The Knickerbocker game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
Oh.
easier. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why is that? Why
Because
so?
the Knicks players know in their heart of hearts that they lost the game.
Yeah.
That it was on them. They lost the game, and it's easier to come back. It's easier to come back on. While the T-Wolves were outplayed in the second half by the OKC Thunder, they outscored 70 to 48, and so the Knicks, even though it's painful, they'll wake up. They're watching the films. I'm sure right now today they're getting ready to roll on Friday night. Should be a great series. Again, the Knicks. See, we live in Salt Lake City, but the Knicks and Pacers, they have a fierce rivalry.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, for the last 35
Yes.
years. And so they don't like each other. So that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's great for basketball. I mean, it's great for us as fans as well. So Tyrese Halliburton had this statement after the game, and he said, "Look, you play till it's zero, till the very last tick of the clock goes off, and you just keep playing. We all know that, right? We all know, hey, you got to see this thing through to the end." And the Knicks admittedly said, we let our foot off the gas. So I know this. It was like embedded into my brain. You play till the final whistle blows. Why do we, as players, as coaches, why do we not always understand and get this? What's going through the Knicks' mind up by 14 with 2 minutes and 30 seconds to go? And they admitted, they said, yeah, we took our foot off the gas.
Human behavior. That's when they think the game is over mentally, so physically they don't respond. The Knicks in the end of the last 3 minutes of that game, they got beat off the dribble. They're in the wrong coverage. Offensively, Jalen Brunson, who's a tremendous player, he was over-dribbling.
Right.
And that created really so much of a short clock situation. And he maybe got bumped a few times. The refs did not call it, which is all part of a playoff basketball. And just generally speaking, that the Knicks were lagging mentally, which creates then slower feet and reaction time to make plays. The opposite side was the Pacers, where they were playing on adrenaline. They were playing on the influence of we refuse to lose. Their shot making was tremendous. Aaron Nesmith in that game. Are you kidding me? Scott Mitchell, 20 points in the fourth quarter, 8 for 9. Scott, give me the hot sauce for barbecue right now, because that's what he was doing right now. Aaron Nesmith. Obi Toppin, talk about the Knicks had him for 3 years. They let him go. Obi Toppin was huge in the fourth quarter at overtime. He gets 8 points and 10 rebounds in 20 minutes. He had an impactful stick back, and then he had that muscle driver to the basket where he got hit. They didn't call it, and that was really the clincher. So everything went well for the Pacers, while the Knickerbockers mentally and eventually physically, they let up, and they couldn't catch themselves in the overtime period. Now, if you're a Pacer fan, you were this morning at work in Indianapolis, and Scott, in Indianapolis, you played there. It's called the Speedway City.
Right.
And that's the way the Pacers play. They play fast. Knicks tried to play fast during the game. They almost pulled it off. At the end, they couldn't.
So, you hear kind of trends in the NBA, and this trend, I guess, with the new collective bargaining agreement, it limits you in how you can build a team. And a lot of people are saying that teams now are built to be diverse, where you have players that are big, but can spread the floor, that you can switch off and play and cover all five of the players on the court, and they're long and lanky and play defense and all of this stuff. And you mentioned all of these different players coming up big in this game. Is that an accurate depiction of where the NBA today is, or as some people say, is Tyrese Halliburton becoming a superstar? And are you seeing through this series maybe a new sheriff in town, or new sheriffs in town, that maybe the superstars like the Kevin Durant's and the Jokic's, or LeBron, or maybe Steph Curry, maybe these new guys those are the new superstars in the league?
Oh, very much. Yeah, absolutely. So Tyrese Halliburton is a all-star, and so is Jalen Brunson. And so these two young guys, that they're both in their prime, and those guys are going to take over eventually. Also, in that same group would be Anthony Edwards, who will play tonight.
Right.
So these are all younger guys, and that's the draft system. Now, the myth about NBA basketball and/or in the NFL is that if you don't pick a high draft selection, that means that it's much harder to win. And so the point I'm going to make right now is that the Pacers, they think they could be NBA champions because they have a team. So I'll just give you just quickly the 5 starters for the Pacers, Scott, where they were drafted. Therese Halliburton was drafted at 12 in the draft. Andrew Nembhard from Gonzaga, via Canada, was drafted at 31. Aaron Naismith, who played for the Celtics, was drafted number 14. Pascal Siakam from Mexico State was picked number 27, and the starting center was Miles Turner at the University of Texas Longhorns. He was picked number 11. So, in that scenario, if my math's correct, there isn't one guy that was picked in the top 10.
No.
And they think they could be champions. Now, Obi Toppin, we mentioned earlier, he was the 8th pick of the draft back in 2020 via University of Dayton. And T.J. McConnell, who helped them during the second quarter, was undrafted. And Ben Shepherd, who was in the end of the game there, was trying to play defense, who's a knockdown shooter. He's picked number 26. So, what is this myth about? People believe that if you don't have the first or second pick of the draft, that means you can't be good. I say that it helps to you have talent. In other words, these guys are all talented, but you've got to play as a unit. And what they've done, the Indiana Pacers, that the pieces fit. The pieces fit. Here are the shooters. Here's the defenders. Here's the all-around hustle players. Here's the big guys. So what you want to do is have players that are interchangeable, but you do need 1 or 2 bigs to rim protect. And now Miles Turner gives them another advantage where he can rim protect and block shots, but also he can space the floor as a three-point shooter. So they've done a good job with their team. Kevin Pritchard is the general manager of the Indiana Pacers. Rick Carlisle is a tremendous coach. He gets it.
Yeah.
And the players respect him, and that's why right now they're up 1-0.
Okay, let's go. I got a lot of questions kind of interspersed here, and I'll ask them as we go along. But I want to talk about the Western Conference Final, which the Thunder and the T-Wolves play again tonight. You can hear it here on 103.9, 98.3 ESPN The Fan at 6 o'clock. The Thunder are up 1-0. Where does this series go in this second game, and some of your thoughts on what this whole series is going to look like? What's kind of been your first impression?
My first impression is that how brilliant the Thunder are also as far as roster building. And then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who was named the MVP last night for the league, was absolutely sensational. I call him a wiggle driver. That he gets the ball in small spaces in the lane. He's able to score baskets and also be a foul creator. In game 1, 31 points, 11 for 14 from the foul line, 9 assists, 5 rebounds, and 3 steals. He had 20 points in the second half. Remember, in that game, at halftime, that the T-Wolves were winning 44-40. And in the second half, the Thunder took over. Next point about the Thunder. What I like about them is that they have so many defensive playmakers. Just like in the NFL, Scott, if you're a D-back or a safety, you got to, or linebacker, you got to make defensive plays. And so Alex Caruso, Cason Wallace, Lou Dort, and Jalen Williams as a starter, those guys are all defensive players. So when they score points, it's absolutely tremendous. But what they do is that Caruso and Cason Wallace and Lou Dort, they harassed Anthony Edwards into what? No points in the fourth quarter, 18 points overall, 9 rebounds. He shot 5 for 13, 4 turnovers. So, again, let's equate the Jazz basketball. The Jazz, they can improve themselves by getting a multitude of defensive playmakers. Whether they start as an offensive player, they need more guys also to play defensively and be around the ball. Scott, just like in the NFL, you got to be around the ball to make plays. And that when you're in coverage, what's the coverage? you've got to be able to bounce out of the coverage to go into what? Into the scheme. It sounds so simple, but it's extra effort. It's being highly intelligent. It's being what? Instinctual, but still what? Stay in coverage.
I used to live in Orlando, Florida. I would play basketball every Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the morning at the YMCA. And Greg Kite, who lived there, and he played, and I always had to guard Greg, and I hated it because he's a big dude. But he would sit there and he'd shoot these 15-foot jump shots and make every one. And I'm like, you never shot the ball in your career. Like, and you got a great shot. And he goes, I go, why did you never? Because I always thought he couldn't shoot. I thought he was like a non-offensive player. And he goes, that wasn't my job. That's what I was. That's what wasn't what I was there to do. So my question is, which is harder? Is it harder to teach a player to be a good defender, or is offense? Which one is the harder of the two to actually develop?
Defense, because offense comes for a lot of people naturally, and that it's much more glamorous, and that when the ball's in your hands, that you feel more confident that I can make a play if you're a player. Now, defensively, it's based on a lot of it is absolutely technique and effort and being schematically sound, and that you can impact the ball on both sides, offense and defense. So most players come into the league, they're offensive-minded to the extreme because of their youngness. In other words, the kids in the draft, that majority of these guys are offensive-minded totally, and defense is a distant second, only because their college team, they need them to score, and that defensively, even though it's important in college, it's more important to be able to score the ball for these guys. They get to the big, bad NBA, then everything changes now. And also it changes in the postseason, is that if you're a star player in the NBA and you're in the fourth quarter, I don't care who you are, you have to guard your position. And so you saw last night how the Pacers, how they guarded their position, and you saw the night before how the Thunder, how the MVP of the league is in his stance moving his feet. And when the players see that, their teammates see that, hey, if he can do it, the MVP, I can, as a 10th man, I should do it too.
Yeah, I think that was one of the keys for the Pacers in winning, and that they really defensively handled Jalen Brunson. You mentioned him dribbling too much, and they just did a nice job of defending him late in the game. And you saw turnovers, you saw a lot of things I don't think you characteristically see from Jalen Brunson.
Very much. So Scott's alluding to about as far as guarding him, as we call corralling the dribbler. That means that the guy on ball, he or she, is in their stance and they're moving their feet. But the person you're guarding is ultra talented. It's got a lot of ball tricks. They can get by you because they know it, because they have a tremendous dribble confidence. So then the help defensive player, whoever's the nearest guy, is going to corral, just like you're in a horse. You're trying to corral the horse and keep him confined in a certain area. Thus, what happened last night is that the overall defense of the Pacers, Jalen Brunson had 7 turnovers. He had more turnovers than assists, and it's a huge part of the game. Yes, he scored 43. He played tremendous. What a talent right now. But the fact of the matter is that he also had some turnovers that affected his team.
So the NFL has had this heated discussion about a play called the tush push, right? It's quarterback sneak, and it gets assistance, and a lot of people are arguing this is unfair. It's unsafe. It's all of these things. And there was a push, no pun intended, to actually ban this play from the NFL, and it was voted down. So they keep the tush push. It's still in. And as I was thinking about our conversation today, are there things that have been banned in the NBA, or maybe should be banned in the NBA, that are viewed kind of an unfair advantage for a team, or teams doing certain things defensively or offensively that you go, it's really an unfair advantage. It shouldn't be going on right now?
Well, in playoff basketball, it's so different in a regular season, where usually speaking, the guys out on perimeter are disadvantaged, where when you touch somebody, because they're so out there in front of everybody, the referee most likely will call a foul. versus in the lane where it's absolutely mortal combat in the lane,
Right.
and everyone's pushing and shoving it and jostling, and the refs allow that to go. So there's discrepancies. So the question is always is, can you play defense using your feet, not your hands? All right, which is absolutely critical. Is that what you want to do is have active hands, not contact hands. On perimeter, in the lane, you want to have a bar forearm on the guy's back right now and be able to have leverage and root them out of their scoring area and make them go up the lane higher to be not a back down player or dribble drive player, now into a face up player. So the rules are the discrepancy as far as playing it. Last point about that is that usually speaking is that landing spot, where you're a jump shooter, and that last night when the Knicks came during that game, there was back-to-back plays by the Pacers where it was definitely a foul, where he landed a three-point shooter, and that the ability to let the player land, but also that the defensive player has also the right to challenge the shot. So it's that fine line, sometimes invisible, where a guy takes a shot, Scott, and he goes into Academy Award winning, where he falls down and he thinks that he got fouled on a jump shot.
Let's take a break for a minute here, and we come back. We got so much more with Coach Gordy Chiesa, because I want to know if John Stockton was a dirty player or not. That's my question. The burning question I have was he, because there's been debate about this. So we'll find out that. So much more. The draft is coming up. We're going to talk in some detail about the draft here on the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 792.1 FM. Hey, sports fans, welcome back. It is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Proud to be part of Utah's ESPN radio network. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Sean today. I have the wonderful privilege of having Coach Gordy Chiesa in the studio, not only for a little bit, for a lot of bit. So we're cruising right along with Coach Chiesa. Of course, if you can't listen to us on the radio, don't worry. You can listen to us live on ESPN700sports.com. You can also get the ESPN 700 app. It's free. Your smart speaker, just tell it to play ESPN 700, and we're on YouTube at ESPN 700 Sports. So love it, and we don't want you to miss a moment of it. And we love to talk about our sports. We love to talk about basketball, all of these great things. Having a wonderful conversation here with Coach. Of course, one of my favorite things, Coach, is to watch these, I don't know, they're like YouTube videos, they're podcasts. And I love all the old NBA players because that's kind of, I grew up with the Magic and I grew up in the Stockton Malone era. Larry Bird, all of them, Michael Jordan, and it's fun to hear them now talk about each other. And I love when they talk about John Stockton, and they're just like, don't let his image fool you. That guy would wear you out on a basketball court, and a lot of them say, well, Stockton's kind of a dirty player. Like, he liked to mix it up. So was John Stockton a dirty player? Please answer that question.
No. What he was, besides being a winning player, he was absolutely a physical player. And they're alluding to about John being a world-class screener. So the ability for a small guy to free up a bigger guy in the lane on screening action, which we call simply the offense now inverted now. So we invert the offense, so put so much stress on the defensive player. So most of the players, when they get screened, I call it they fall in love with the screen and hug the screen versus what? Without getting so technical, drop that shoulder below the screener's hips, and then what? Ride the screen over or under based on the velocity, where the action is the screen is. So Stockton would set a screen, plant both feet, and take on all these big monsters in the lane to free up Karl Malone. And before that, Mark Eaton. And that's the beauty of it. In jazz basketball, in yesteryear, it was a badge of courage to be a screener. It's all part of fundamentals: shooting, passing, driving, screening, cutting, spacing is the attributes of winning offensive basketball.
I had coaches who said, "You're going to run this play, or you're going to perform this task because you love the sport." And it just reminded me of your description about screens. How it's kind of the dirty job, and I think so often we don't think of John Stockton setting a screen. We think of Malone or the pick and roll, and to hear that he had this willingness and effectiveness in actually doing this, speaks to kind of the type of player that he actually was. And a lot of all these guys respected John Stockton, and they just said, look, you had to be around this guy and you had to follow him on both ends of the court. Like, there was never a moment that John Stockton took off. Some guys you maybe don't have to worry about on one end of the court or the other, but with Stockton, he would literally wear you out.
Now think about it. John Stockton is the all-time leader in two of the categories. They are assist, which very likely will never be broken, and also steals. So out of the 6 major categories in basketball, John has 33% of the all-time records.
It's insane.
When you analyze it, and for 19 years, and for 17 times in 19 years, he played every single game. So there's no rest management and more importantly, for the listeners right now, and again, if you have young daughters and young men, is that you want to practice. See, part of the reason why there's so many injuries now, it seems to me, now this is unscientific, so I'm not a doctor. All I know is I've been doing this for 52 years, is that practice is good. Even short practice is good.
Yeah.
Practice is good. Is that you get out there and that you're with your teammates and your floor mates, and usually speaking, the better teams enjoy practicing. The lesser teams dislike practice to the extreme, and that's why they usually don't win close games.
I could say to a man, all the great players that I played with in my career and throughout the different teams, practice was like sacred. Like it was just like it wasn't just practicing, but it was how you practiced and what you actually practiced, and none of them took a moment off. The other thing I think is interesting, and we talked a little bit about Rudy Gobert and of course this Western Conference Finals, and how he's a unique body shape, right? Very tall player, and he has his limitations, but he also has his skill set. And one of the things, and this holds true, I think, in the NBA and the NFL, is all different body shapes perform well. Barry Sanders was a very, very small player. And he had, believe it or not, as amazing as he was, he had his limitations, and you had to incorporate him into what you did in a unique way if you were really going to have, maximize the success you have. And Gobert maybe presents a little bit of that type of challenge in this Western Conference Finals, and maybe teams are playing him or forcing him to do things a little bit different than maybe he does during the regular season.
Yeah, very much. So add to that. So with Rudy Gobert, he has that. He's long-limbed. He has a angular body, so which means that he has a very difficult sense of balance. So what you want to do with people with angular body, we call them high hips, usually a lankiness, is that they get knocked off stride with physicality. So when they're stationary. So what you want to do is pass that ball to those type of body frames when they're in movement, so they can catch and elevate versus catch and navigate. It's a big difference. See, I catch and navigate, I'm at the top of the rim already, versus I have to catch, navigate, I got bumped off stride, legally, illegally, it's irrelevant, and then suddenly I become disjointed with the ball. And it's a visual that's hardly go away. Now, more importantly, for tonight's game with the T-Wolves, Rudy can't play 21 minutes because they had no chance of winning then. Because what the Thunder do very well is they led by their MVP All-Star, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They get top of the basket. I call them their paint resonance in the lane. So Rudy's got to be in the court. So in game one, they took Rudy out early. Because he was struggling as far as scoring the ball, and as far as he wasn't really an effective screener. They played Naz Reid. Naz Reid, who's a good player, goes 1 for 11. So for them, it's the worst scenario. No shot blocking by Rudy on the court, and the guy who makes a jump shooter, a perimeter player, goes 1 for 11. So that's why they got annihilated in the second half. Let's fast forward it for tonight. Rudy's got to play. Get him in short corner spacing. Get him as a willing screener, and when he does roll to the basket on a short roll, make the catch, Rudy. If I was coaching him, catch it, jump stop, 2 feet, make a play, kick it out to the corner, and then go into the basket and relocate as far as offensive rebound. It sounds simple, Scott. It's basketball 101. However, it gets really the moment, the anxiety of the moment makes you out. Most players in playoff games, they play offense too fast and defense too slow.
Right. No, the game's not hard. It isn't. It's common sense. Break it down to its essence and don't overcomplicate it so you can perform well. So, I love the analysis. Love to see how Minnesota bounces back or reacts to the loss they had last week, and because we want to see a great series, and we want to be entertained, and we don't like blowouts. All right, the draft is coming up for the Jazz. Of course, the worst possible thing that could happen to the Jazz. But according to your comments, maybe it isn't the worst possible thing. You can get to championships and win them without having that top pick in the draft. You have a profile on a potential pick for the Jazz. Duke forward Con Kneipel is a guy that you're going to do a little profile in, and he potentially could be a fit for the Jazz. And do you like him for the Jazz? Yeah, I do. No, so his name is Kneipel. He plays for Duke. He's a freshman, 19 years old. So imagine, Scott, when you were 19 years old. Remember now, this is a family show, Scott. All right? And so we forget how young these guys are. So when you're driving on I-15 saying, this guy can't do this guy can't do that, maybe you're right. However, you're 19 years old. And that's most players will try to develop their skills as far as the things they can't do. And we as coaches, that's our job to do it. So Con Kneipel, he's a small forward. Here's some quick metrics. He averaged 14.4 points per game at Duke, 47.9 field goal percentage, 40.6 from threes, 91.4 from the foul line, 4 rebounds. And here's the best part about his game, is that 107 assists.
only 53 turnovers. And that's in the ACC,
Wow.
and that's what, with Cooper Flagg and some other dangerous teammates on his team. Quickly, a long, long time ago, I used to be director of pro personnel for the Memphis Grizzlies. So when I read this out loud, this would be like me talking to the people in the office in the war room. Here we go. Con Canipo, screen reader, catch and fire, range shooter, clever step-back jumper to get space. Right-handed player needs more diversity in his dribble series. Savvy change direction cutter / finisher versus top lockdown defenders. That means when you're a shooter on the baseline, they play your top side and make them go away from the screen right now. Poised passer off the dribble, finds random cutters. Late game shooting threat, which is always important. Battler wins most majority of the 50-50 loose ball skirmishes. Quick defensive players get up into his dribble. He needs a pullback bounce to create acceleration. In other words, when he has the ball on perimeter against good defense, we'll say like Lou Dort type defense, they're going to get it up into him. The counterpunch right now is to take a backup dribble to get that guy off you, get him leaning, and then what? Change direction dribble on it. Defensively, and as far as frame, modest upper frame, slow feet, on ball difficulty of guarding and dribble containment. So we don't like that. So he has slow feet. So now the way to play in the NBA and play well is that now he becomes we call it a cushion defensive player, where you press up on the guy you're guarding on perimeter and then go length distance to what? But you play a cushion so that you don't get beat on the first dribble or two. We call it the point of attack. Again, I'm getting technical, but it's all part of it right now. As far as he's a good potential help defender. So schematically, he knows what he's doing. He's we call a nail resident. Box out rebounder, which is good. So what he lacks as far as athleticism and as far as length, he's a good athlete, not an exceptional athlete. He's a box out rebounder. So what he does is that he's a knockdown shooter. He knows how to play. He's a shooting threat. He's a team player. He knows how to pass the ball. He knows how to execute. Who's he like in the NBA as far as comparison? Klay Thompson of the Mavericks, Luke Kennard of the Grizzlies, and Max Strus of the Cavaliers. So that's who he's like. He'll be picked probably, I'm just guessing right now, between numbers 5 to 10. He's in that range. Remember, everybody loves shooters because shooting is an art form. The worst thing to do right now in a playoff game is when a guy penetrates back-to-back times into a corner kick-out three-point shot, and the guy goes 0 for 2. It's deflating. A guy like Con Canipo, he can make an open three-point shot, and the Jazz need someone like that consistently to make shooters. So we'll find out they like him or not.
So in our first segment, you were talking about the Indiana Pacers, and you were listing where their starting five were drafted, and it was all over the board, and they even have role players or significant contributors undrafted, which I think we all understand. What's the best strategy for the Jazz then? Is it kind of what they're doing is trying to amass picks and trying to just pick as many possible players as you can and hope that they mesh together, you find the right combination, you develop the right kind of guys? Is that the best path, I guess, for the Jazz? Because everyone, and myself included, feels like, man, you gotta have that player that's the superstar player if you're gonna win a championship.
Yeah, it helps certainly. The best way to build a team is through the draft, then smart trades, and lastly free agency. All right, so the Jazz, as they draft these guys, now last year the Jazz hit the jackpot late in the first round, second round, with Collier and Filipowski.
Right.
So they, again, as always, including this year, 1 year after the draft, if the people on the personal side had to do it over, most times they would draft dramatically different. So it's so interesting. 1 year in the league, hey, I never knew that this guy could do this, or we thought that this guy would be impactful, and guess what? He's not at all. And so again, add to this, these guys are so young that they're 19, 20 years old. Most of these guys don't know if today is Thursday or Friday right now. Who are we playing tonight? Like, we have a game tonight?
Right.
Who are we playing tonight? And that's part of the immaturity like all young people have. So it's not only basketball players; it's your children, your own children, your next door neighbor's kids, et cetera, et cetera. So it's alarming. But Con Knippel, that guy can shoot, and so he can play in the NBA and play well. He needs a screen. And I mentioned about his dribble series. He's got to improve it. He will by drills, etc. When a player has ball confidence, his whole game becomes much more alertness. Now you have to add to that the defensive ability to be able to guard. We call it guard a yard, and that's something that he has to learn how to do. And again, he'll be we call it again a cushion defensive player.
What's the best fit for the Jazz at 5? A lot of people are projecting that it's a potential guard. Con has been a suggestion. There's even been some discussion about Lauri Markkanen potentially moving on and finding his replacement in the draft. So what do you think is the best fit for the Jazz at 5 in this draft?
Trey Johnson of Texas, a 2 guard. We mentioned earlier that he's a talent. He's a bucket getter. This young guy named Jeremiah Fears from Oklahoma.
Right.
He's a point guard. But for me, watching the Jazz play for all these years is that I like Collier. See, Collier was at 29. If the draft was over again, he'd be picked at probably 12, 8, 9. Again, so much as numerical numbers, it creates the expectation where a guy, how well he should play. I say the opposite. I don't care where you pick, can you play? And that's what you talk about all the time as far as undrafted. So the Jazz, what they're going to try to attempt to do is that draft wisely and then via trades, make some trades to try to improve the team. They had 17 wins this year. It's they're going to try to accelerate it without giving away their draft capital. It can be done, but you have to be patient, and also you have to get an element of luck. Like as always, there's always luck involved in everything. Unfortunately, last Monday, the draft cards weren't good to the Jazz as far as picking 5. But who's to say, Scott, that the 5 pick's not better than the 3rd pick? Who's to say? No one. So again, your worst nightmare as far as a Jazz fan, don't be thinking that, because no one knows. No one knows except for the man upstairs what's going to happen.
So help me understand this. The top 8 picks in the draft, projected top 8 picks, 2 are from Rutgers, 3 are from Duke, and none are from Florida. Of course, Florida wins the national championship. Why doesn't winning a national championship necessarily translate into having great players, or I shouldn't say great players, but high draft picks, lottery-type draft picks? What's the deal?
Well, the deal is that these guys at the Florida Gators, they're slightly, here's the word I'm using, slightly less talented to the top of the guys in the draft. And when I say talent, I'm usually meaning what? Athleticism, bouncy, quick fast twitch reactions, etc., longer lengths, knockdown shooters. However, those guys called the Gators, they know what they're doing also. Those kids can play in the NBA. And again, the guy picked at 23 by the Jazz could suddenly outplay the guy at pick number 3.
Yeah.
So Jazz at 21, excuse me. And so it's all part of it as far as the perception. Again, the top of the draft, usually speaking, is based on just pure athletic talent. Now, the question is, with those guys, are you a basketball player? And if you're not right now, that's okay. But please, don't wait too long.
It brought up this question for me. In the NFL, they'd have the draft, and there was a number. This is our first round pick, whatever. And players were like, "We don't care. Can you help us win? Well, I don't care where you were drafted." But some organization says, we don't want to look stupid, like we made the wrong choice. So we're going to do everything we possibly can. We're going to give this guy every extra opportunity that we can. How was it in the NBA? You've mentioned so many guys that weren't those early picks or second round picks or mid range, where Stockton was type of players, and Donovan Mitchell. So how did you view players once you got them after the draft? Did you try to make a guy an early pick better, or give him more opportunities, or did you treat everyone equal once you got all the players in practice and getting ready for a season?
everybody equal. Absolutely. And I
So you
think
didn't care. You
No, we did not care one bit. Whether you're undrafted, we could care less about that. Can you play? Can you contribute? What's your skill set? What's your projection? What's your personality? Again, so much is your personality. Do you listen? Never underestimate the ability for a young person to listen. And we as coaches, we attempt to not over-talk. That's the first thing, but you please listen. Here's the things that you have to do right now, this second on this play. What are you missing right now? What is the problem here? Do I speak a different language? I'm speaking to you in English. What is the problem here? All right. That's what I call, often with young people, young players, I call this, they have an invisible earmuffs.
Yeah.
They're invisible earmuffs. But they can't Scott Mitchell, they can't outsmart us because we've seen these before, many times before. So they think they're outsmarting us, but no, they're not.
Well, the coaches just text them now on the practice court. That's how they listen. They just text a player on the court, and then they'll respond. Is A.J. DeBonsta worth the tank next year?
Well, he's like Paul George. The first thing he plays like, is he? Again, the answer is he's a major talent, but the lottery gods, do not base it on the lottery gods. Remember, the last time that the first pick of the draft went to the worst record with Detroit Pistons, and that was Cade Cunningham back in 2020. That was the COVID year as far as the draft. So all I'm saying is that he's a major talent, absolutely, and so is Cam Boozer, and so is this kid named Darren Peterson, who's going to go to Kansas. So those three kids will be 1, 2, or 3, 3, 2, 1, 2, 1, 3, how you want to word it. So those are the three top guys in the draft in 2026. But
so do you want to be one of those top three again?
No,
do the Jazz want to tank again?
No, what you want to do is you want to be as good as you can be because this is sports.
Yeah.
This is sports. You want to be as good as you can be. And if you're not as successful, let the lottery gods be on your behalf right now. And so again, I knew that already. I mean, because all of us, we deal in sports our whole life. But that's what you want to attempt to do. So the Jazz are picking right now at 5-21, and they're picking at 43 and 53. They have 4 draft selections. It's unlikely they're going to use all 4. That there'll be some teams that are they're in it, they're not picking in the draft. Like the Denver Nuggets, as you speak, right now, the Nuggets have no picks in the first and second round.
Wow,
zero, none. So there'll be a classic example. Usually speaking, Scott, to buy into the first round, it costs the team to buy into it roughly $4 to $6 million for that pick. Not even the play, just for the process of getting the pick. $4 to $6 million. In the second round, usually speaking, it's $1 million to $2 million for the privilege to pick 35, 34, 37 in the draft.
Fascinating, interesting. All right, you got a list for us?
Yes.
What do you got?
This list, last night's game was one for the ages where there was 4 players that scored over 30 more points in the game. So I did this list yesterday morning, so it wasn't even that I was so smart. These 4 guys got it. I did the list, but it's based on, here's the list. The all-time NBA leaders in most career playoff games of scoring 30 or more points in a game. Career leaders. What's the blueprint? How to score 30 in a playoff game? 3-point baskets. 2, driving buckets. 3, foul shot tallies. 4, offensive rebound scores. 5, transition layups. So the top 12 of all time of 30 points or more in playoff games. Number 12, the only lefty, Scott. I know you're lefty, Scott. The only lefty on this list, James Harden, did it 49 times. Number 11, Hakeem Olajuwon did it 53. Number 10, Karl Malone did it 54 times, 30 points in a playoff game or more. Here we go. 53 with the Jazz, 1 with the Lakers. Number 9, Shaquille O'Neal did it 55 times. Number 7, tied, Elgin Baylor and Steph Curry scored 30 more points in a playoff game 60 times. Number 6, Jerry West did it 74 times. Number 5, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did it 75 times. Number 4, Kevin Durant did it 77 times. Number 3, Kobe Bryant did it 88 times. Number 2, this is crazy, Michael Jordan did it 109 times. And the all-time leader in NBA playoff history of scoring 30 points or more career-wise in playoff games is LeBron James. He's done it and counting 123 times.
What a list. Wow. Tells you that those superstars really show up in the biggest moments.
That's right. They show up and they show out. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what you want to do. And tonight's game, we'll see Anthony Edwards. Can he get 30 points within the team concept? And can the Thunder with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and everyone else, that crew, can they knock out the T-Wolves to be up 2-0, and then they go back to the Twin Cities?
Yeah. All right. Great stuff. Really appreciate your time, Coach. Always a pleasure. Of course, the NBA All-Star, or not All-Star, but playoffs continue on. And, boy, they've been exciting so far. And I'm sure we'll see more excitement as we go along. Listen, ESPN 792.1 FM is excited to announce that Dylan Gossett will be playing at the Complex November 11th. Tickets go on sale Thursday. We'll give away a pair of those tickets today in topical trivia around 1:45. Right around the corner, Steve Weissman, Duke beat writer, will join us to talk about some of the players in the draft that might come to the Jazz and some of them that won't. All right, this is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. All righty, sports fans, welcome back to the show. It's the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Sean. You can listen to me on the Down and Dirty right before Sean's show from 10 to 11 here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Fun show. It's so fun to talk to Coach Gordy. I love when he comes in the studio. Love the conversations we have on and off the air. Fascinating stuff. And we're going to continue with some of that basketball discussion with Steve Weissman, who's a Duke beat writer for the Durham Herald-Sun. Steve, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm good, Scott. It's a pleasure to be with you.
A little fun fact for you. I've been a Duke fan all the way back to my days in college. I think I have an old Duke sweater somewhere. Love the Cameron Crazies and all that stuff. Two of my kids actually live in North Carolina near Wilmington. One is a Carolina fan, one's a Duke fan. So understand the craziness about Duke basketball and, of course, Research Triangle Park and all that great Tobacco Road and history of basketball there. So fun to have you on the show here.
That's great. You have a house divided there with one with Carolina and one with Duke. It makes sense. That happens a lot in this part of the world.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
It just makes it all. It's all interesting. It's all fun. Of course, the Utah Jazz here are picking fifth in the draft, and there's some projections that there may be a Duke player available at that pick. Kon Knipple and Kaman Maluwach are potential picks for the Jazz. What can you tell us about those great Duke players?
Yeah, I can tell you that Kon is closer to being ready to really contribute right now. I mean, Kaman is just barely 18 and only started playing basketball 4 or 5 years ago in Africa. So he's 7'2". He's got the strong wingspan, so he can help out defensively probably now a little bit. But his offensive game is still developing, and so I would think if you're looking for somebody who's going to come in and make an immediate impact right now, he's probably not your guy. But if you want to build towards something great, he can do that, and he can do some rim running now at 7'2" and all that. But he's got some work to do in the rebounding area because, like even in the last game against Houston when they lost the Final Four, he had 0 rebounds at 7'2". So he has a lot of talent and he's got a great future in the game. He's just got some work to do, obviously, to catch up to his body and skills. His skills need to catch up to his size. So, but now Kon, on the other hand, is a developed guy. He's they listed him at 6'7" this year. It's funny when we first talked to him in October, he's like, "I'm not 6'7". Like I don't know what they're doing. So
what is he?
6'5" or 6'6",
oh,
probably.
Okay.
6'6", I would say. Not that big a difference, but you know how it goes. It wouldn't be accurate. But he's thickly developed. He's 220, 225 as far as a strong guy. Has the ability to drive the ball through traffic, get downhill that way, get to the basket, finish at the rim against taller players. He shot 40% from 3-point this year. And the first thing I noticed when I watched him in a scrimmage last fall was his quick release. He gets the ball out of his hand so quickly and so accurately on his 3-pointers that I think he's just going to have a tremendous career in the NBA that way.
I know there was, of course, Cooper Flagg feels like is the consensus number 1 pick. There was some discussion about him possibly staying in school, depending on how the lottery kind of played out. What's been the reaction from the Duke fans about the lottery and Cooper Flagg?
Yeah, I mean that was not really a legitimate thing. He wasn't going to come back. I mean, it didn't really matter who got the first pick. This was all, the plan was set early on for him he reclassed, backwards into this class. He should just be entering college now, but he skipped his, and so it was all about getting to the NBA a year early and getting on that track. So, but no, I mean, people in the Duke world are excited about Cooper playing in Dallas, where Derek Lively, who was a Duke star player just 2 years ago on an ACC championship team as a freshman, is a guy that came in there and is doing great things in the paint. And then, of course, Kyrie Irving, who played here, briefly 14 years ago around injuries, is also a Duke guy, another former number 1 overall pick from Duke. So the idea of having those 3 guys playing together interests a lot of people. A lot of Duke fans like to see the guys have a lot of success at the next level.
I know fans out here in Utah were really hoping to get Cooper Flagg, and just kind of felt like he might be a Jazz type of player. What type of player is Cooper Flagg in your opinion?
Yeah, he's he has skills everywhere on the court, and he can impact the game in so many ways. He can rebound. He can shoot 3-pointers. He's 6'9". He can help defend the rim. He's that was the greatest thing about watching him this year was as he led Duke in every category, assists, rebounds, all the things I just mentioned, block shots. Whatever they needed on a certain night, he was able to deliver for the most part. And there were nights he had 42 points against Notre Dame or 30 points against Arizona in the NCAA tournament. And there were other nights when he had 17 or 18, but he had 8 assists and 9 rebounds. And so it just kind of depended upon what they needed, and he delivered. And there was a lot of hype on him coming into this year. And other than they got to the Final Four and they lost a tough game to Houston, so nobody's going to overlook the fact they lost that game. But in the overall picture, he accomplished all the things that they thought he could do coming in here. He's National Player of the Year. He's going to be the number 1 overall pick. Led him to the ACC championship and the Final Four. So he really is a great leader and is so team oriented for a guy of his talent. He really doesn't mind deferring to other guys on the court, sometimes to a fault. John Shire have talked to him. I think you need to shoot more. So we'd rather have you shoot that than him. But so that's something his game will develop. But he's also just 18 years old now too. He won't be 19 until December. So he can make an impact immediately, day one in the NBA for sure.
You got to answer this question for me. I don't understand this. You have projected probably 3 players in the top 8 in the draft. How do you lose? How do you not win a national championship? Steve, explain this to me, please.
How do you blow a 14-point lead with 8 minutes to go and a 9-point lead with 2 minutes to go and a 7-point lead with 40 seconds to go? Yeah, that's a lot of stuff. And it just came down to, they did not execute simple things down the stretch of that game. I'd watched them play that type of game. I watched every game this year, obviously, being at the games. And they would get a 14-point lead and extend it to 20, or they'd have a 9-point lead with 2 minutes to go and extend it to 14 or 15. And instead, they had like a defensive breakdown here that allowed a 3-pointer, and they couldn't inbound the ball, and Tyrese Proctor missed a free throw, and Cooper missed a shot in the lane at the end that would have won the game if he'd made it, the very last shot. And, just simple things. And, as a former pro athlete, right, those little things will bite you in the end if you don't get them all right all the time. And it was a heartbreaking loss, for Duke and everybody.
Hey,
but yeah,
I'm a Duke fan. I'm in pain myself, so I get it. Where is Duke next year with the loss of all these great players? What do things look like with the program next year?
Yeah, they got the great recruiting class coming in. Carlos Boozer's sons, Cam and Caden Boozer. Cameron Boozer, obviously named after the stadium, right? So that's kind of interesting.
Yes.
Is supposed to be, one and done, potential number 1 overall pick in next year's draft type of thing. But I think comparing him to Cooper is probably not fair because there are generational players for a reason. They only come along once a generation. Cooper is a generational player. Nobody thinks Cam Boozer is a generational player. I think he's going to be a great player, but not to that level of Cooper. So let's not get carried away there. But he's going to be one of the keys in this team next year. They're returning Caleb Foster, Isaiah Evans, guys that played a lot last year. Malik Brown, the reserve guy from Syracuse, who did so well defensively. And then they have another 6'11" freshman coming in named Nick Hamina from California, who's supposed to help inside as well. And, I know they've got a guy that's committed to come in as a transfer, Ced Coward, who played last year at Washington State. But it looks like he may stay in the NBA draft because he's looking like a first-round pick at the end. So he's still in the draft. He hasn't withdrawn yet. And if he stays a first-round pick, he'll go. So they're going to have to find somebody else to fill in there. But they're going to be, a top 10 team next year to start the year. They're going to be an ACC title contender. John Shire's proven that he's taken over this program and he's doing great things with it. So they're certainly good at amassing talent. And he's won 2 ACC championships, so I think there's no reason to believe they won't be in contention for that again.
It's fascinating to me, just the mystique of the Duke basketball program and the power that it is. What is the secret sauce? What makes it so great?
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's a brand power to it, right? And especially nowadays where people can pay anything. I mean, now it's all above board, right? The payments and everything. So that's supposed to, money's the equalizer, I guess. But also, when you come into Duke, they have a track record of preparing guys for the NBA and producing, lottery picks every year. And so if you're on the bubble about want to go this school or that school, I mean, you look at Duke and they're like, okay, if I come in and do what this guy did, they have a system that works. And so that pays a big difference. And, it's a historic program. You play a game at Cameron Indoor Stadium. It's one of the great venues in the country for college basketball. And so that carries some weight with people. And there's a togetherness in the program, and they call it the brotherhood, and there's some jokes about that, of course, down the road at Carolina. But
of course.
But yeah, the NBA guys come back in the off season. There's a charity event that for Coach K's charities, and they come back, and so they interact with the current players. They meet all these incredible guys that have been, a lot of Jason Tatum and such down the road, and so that helps too.
Yeah, I can only imagine. It's a great program, and I love all those things. One of the biggest things I get asked is about NIL and how it's just really, people are concerned about its impact. Of course, most of those discussions are on football. What have you seen about the impact of NIL on basketball, and is it's something we should be concerned about?
Well, I mean, it's concerning if what's concerning about it is that we have unregulated free agency, and again, professional athletes have contracts, and there's you go in and sign a 2 or 3 year deal, and you think you're going to be there for a while, right? In college, and that goes both directions. The team thinks they're getting the guy for that long. Here, every year, guys are up for renewal. It's all 1 year contracts, and then they can go out and market themselves in the NIL world, and so it's hard to put a roster together, as Duke is finding out right now, because they thought they had a guy that's going to end up going to the NBA, and they got to replace him already. Here it is May 22nd. They still got to get that, but so that every team is battling that, and so it's harder than ever to build a roster and have it together and work. Every year the roster is going to be torn apart and rebuilt. Every year. And so we're hoping that, with all these court cases and the House settlement that's going to come down in the NCAA, that we'll get some of these guardrails put in place to kind of ease up some of the chaos. But that's the concern with me. And that's not just basketball, it's football too. But particularly in basketball, though, because, it only takes 5 guys to have a great team, or 3 great players and a couple of other guys. You can do a lot of winning with that. Football's a little different. Obviously, there's more people, but it's a little confusing right now for coaches and players.
Yeah, and part of why I asked, because you talk about this great culture and this great tradition at Duke, and it's just as special and wonderful as there is in the country. And when you're talking about resetting your roster every single year, these players, maybe they don't fully embrace or have an opportunity to really take advantage and experience the culture of the program, the history, the greatness of it. And I just wonder long term, what kind of impact that has, or if it does, because it just seems like that college experience where you're there for 4 years or 5 years or whatever. It just doesn't seem like that exists anymore. And will it have that unintended impact on culture and tradition?
Yeah, I think it's a real concern, and it's something that Coach K dealt with, in the last 5 or 6 years of his career, maybe even longer than that, maybe 7 or 8 years. And then John Shire's dealing with that now, where when guys come in, you have to get them indoctrinated into the program and what Duke basketball is all about, like from day one. Like
Yeah.
you've got to like microwave it, right? You got to get it really fast. And so you only have 2 or 3 years to get guys used to things. So they come in here, they all live in the dorm together, and they have classes and stuff or seminars where they teach them about Duke basketball during the summer. They come
Wow.
in here in June and do it that way. And then, of course, I told you about the NBA guys coming back. That helps.
Right, yeah.
That happens in June as well. So, but those are things little tricks you try to do to get ahead of the game because they're only going to be here for not even 12 months.
Right, yeah. Wow. Hey, great stuff. Really appreciate your time, Steve. Hope you have a great day.
Okay, Scott. Thanks a lot.
You got it. There you have it. Steve Weissman, who's a Duke beat writer, talking about the potential of some players might be playing for the Jazz and some of them might not. We'll see. We've learned from Coach Gordy Chiesa, it doesn't matter where you drafted. It matters that you become great, play great, and play as a team, and that's how you win championships. So there you have it. ESPN 792.1 M, 92.1 FM's Festival of Tees, powered by the Utah Golf Association, brought to you by Mountain America Credit Union. Each day we're giving away free rounds of golf from the best courses in the state and beyond. Listen to the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell from 10 to 11. That's me, the Sean O'Connell Show from 11 to 2, which I'm hosting today. And The Drive with Spence Checketts from 2 to 6 for your chance to win. Right around the corner, we have an update, PGA Tour leaderboard. This is the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 792.1 FM.
Duchesne. Cahayskin gets an over one-timer from Rantanen, and that one off the side of the net. Hintz is wiped out, and they score! It came in front, and Duchesne, I believe, gets the goal. Dallas has the lead. His first of the postseason.
Dallas Stars go ahead in their 6-3 comeback win over the Edmonton Oilers, courtesy Sports USA. John Ayler's on the call. Dallas was down 3-1 after the second period. Then they scored 5 goals in the third to take a 1-0 lead in the Western Conference Final. Game 2 of the East Final is tonight at 6, and we have it for you on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 792.1 FM. We are your home of the Stanley Cup playoffs. The PGA Tour leaderboard update is right now. Charles Schwab Challenge at the Colonial, brought to you by Uinta Golf. Experience the future of performance with Callaway new shaping materials and the AI X10 Smart Face, delivering up to 8 yards longer with even more forgiveness. We all need more forgiveness. Available now at Uinta Golf. What do you got for us, James, on our update?
Yes, PGA Tour leaderboard update. They're at the Colonial this week, which is obviously every year a star-studded field. Scott, not quite a major, but one of those bigger tournaments on the PGA Tour. John Pack is your leader at 7 under. Patrick Rogers and Matthias Schmid are among the handful of guys tied for second at 4 under, including the Japanese Ryo Hisatsune, also at 4 under there. Let's see, Tommy Fleetwood among the handful of guys tied for 7th at 3 under, 4 shots off the lead. Scrolling down a little bit to see if we can find our guy Tony Finau. Doesn't appear that Tony Finau's in the field this week, Scott. So. No Tony, even though this is one of the bigger PGA Tour
Colonial's
events.
Great.
No Tony this week. I was disappointed with Tony. I thought in the PGA Championship, I thought he was just on the edge of contention on Sunday, Scott. I was pulling for him, and then he had a tough. They call it the Green Mile out there in North Carolina, the course that they were at. He had a tough last 3 holes. Fell out of contention. Of course, Scotty Scheffler then got his act together too. But Scotty, he got to 9 under. Scott, after starting the day at 11 under, Tony was there at 7 or at 6 or 7 at that point. Stayed around 5 under. I was like, he's going to make a surge here. He's going to make a surge here. Unfortunately, the Green Mile got him, and Scotty Scheffler ends up winning the PGA Championship. Anyway, Tony maybe giving himself some more time off. Before he gives himself a chance to bounce back from a bit of a disappointing finish, but still a really good performance from him at the PGA Championship. That's your PGA Tour leaderboard update, Scott.
All right, thank you so much, James. There you have it, folks. Of course, the Colonial's going on through the weekend, and golf continues through the summer. Only got 2 majors down, 2 more to go. We're going to talk a whole bunch about a lot of NFL news of note around the corner here.
Hey, speaking of football, Scott, sorry to cut you off.
Well,
You've been hearing the sounder. We're 100 days from Utah football.
Oh yeah, 100 days.
August 30th is 100 days away, Scott.
You know, it's actually 99.
Yeah, I mean,
you know why it's 99?
Educate me.
I will. This is an NFL thing to help you get through training camp.
Yeah.
So if today is 100 days, it's actually 99 because you're already on today. So you can't count today. So
count today.
You just don't count today. So it's actually 99.
Good.
So you're 1 day ahead of when you actually are. Yeah, and that little mental, I don't know, oasis or breath of positive thoughts that just helps you get through the dog days of training camp.
Yeah.
So you're here. You can't count today.
Yeah, we had a texter, by the way. They're counting today. They said, happy 100 days, Scott. 100 days till Utah football.
Of course.
Go Utes. We appreciate you texting in. If you want to chime in, we don't have guests in this last hour, Scott. So if listeners want to chime in, they got questions for you.
Yeah.
anything
Do it
we're
now.
talking about here,
Because we got a lot to talk about.
text
So
us 877-353-0700. Give us a call 877-353-0700.
all right, this is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. NFL news of note is around the corner. Hello, sports fans. Welcome back. It's the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Sean today and tomorrow. You can listen to me every day on the Down and Dirty from 10 to 11 here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Fun show today. Great conversations, a lot of crazy things happening. And you don't want to miss any of it. I know you're driving in your car or maybe you're just listening somewhere, but you can listen to us all the time, uninterrupted. You can listen live on the ESPN700sports.com. You can also go to the ESPN 700 app. You can get us on your smart speaker. Just tell it to play ESPN 700, and also on YouTube at ESPN 700 Sports Utah. So don't miss a moment of the action. Anything we do, anything we talk about, you can get it here. And you can also get the podcast on ESPN 700 app. Just search the Sean O'Connell Show as well. We're going to jump into the NFL news of note. But before we do that, we have, can we call it breaking news? Breaking news is happening in the world of sports. According to sources, no, I love it. I'm soaking in the moment. Yes, breaking news. Sources: college football playoff moving to straight seeding. Wow. The 12-team college football playoff will move to a straight seeding model this fall, rewarding the selection committee's top 4 teams with the top 4 seeds and a first-round bye. Okay.
Heather Dinich reporting from ESPN on that one. Yeah, so what that means, Scott, for our listeners who may not understand it just by reading it there. Last year, the top 4 ranked conference champions got the top 4 seeds and first round byes. This year, they're doing away with that. They're saying if it's 4 SEC teams that are the top 4 teams, according to the committee, they're going to be the top 4 seeds, get first-round byes. 4 Big Ten, whatever, regardless of conference, if you're a top 4 team in the committee's rankings, you will be a top 4 seed and get the first-round bye.
So each team gets a seat in the tournament, though, right? Each conference champion gets.
Yeah, the conference champions.
You just don't get a top 4.
Let me read a little bit further. Yeah, it's still the same. I believe everything else is the same. From conference champions earn a spot in the tournament, the highest ranked group of 5 champion included. Just you don't get the first round bye.
Well, so let me explain something to you really quick. This is garbage. Okay, it's just garbage, and I'll tell you why it's garbage. There's this whole thought process that the SEC just has from top to bottom better teams, better. Same thing with the Big Ten. I can give you 2 teams last year who were ranked high, and they were ranked high all year long, and they didn't play anybody, and they got exposed when they got in the playoffs. Ole Miss was one, and Indiana was another. And so, if you're going to go by this metric, you're going to have some teams that aren't necessarily the better teams getting an unfair advantage. And I still don't think you're going to get the best teams with this. I get to some degree why they want to do this. They want to have the very best teams have the best opportunity or the chance to win a championship. And so like a team like Arizona State, they go, you guys won your conference, but you lost a lot of games. You're not really that good. And you're gonna benefit. I'm not a fan of the rankings because it's still subjective. It's just someone's opinion. Like how do you know? The only way that you can make this pure and really work is if every conference plays the same exact number of games in their conference and they play everyone in their conference. Like, this year at Utah, like they don't play Oklahoma State. They don't play, there's schools they don't play. And BYU doesn't necessarily not play the same teams Utah. So you could either get lucky in the draw of your schedule, or you could be punished because you're playing the tougher teams and someone else isn't. Well, and I hate that subjectiveness to this whole thing, and I hate that they don't compare it and they don't if you only have 8 conference games and the other conferences have 9, and you're playing these podunky schools from multiple direction university, it's a farce. It's just an absolute farce. I know that better players from top to bottom in the ACC, I get it, in the Big Ten, but those bottom tier teams are not better, or those mid range teams. I don't believe are better than teams in the Big 12. I just don't.
Yeah, and the whole reason why they gave the conference champions a top 4 seed in the last year in the original 12 team playoff format was to reward conference championships too. And there was a lot of pushback once we got into playoff action. I remember Joe Tessitore, the great ESPN college football play-by-play guy, bringing it up over and over again. Why are we double rewarding conference champions? Well, because we've gotten to the point where there are a lot of programs, particularly in the Big Ten or SEC, view a conference championship as almost meaningless. We heard Lane Kiffin say we'd rather not play in the conference championship game and risk a third loss on our schedule,
Right.
and then they lost the third game anyway. A third or fourth loss on their resume, which would knock them out of the playoff field, then play for a conference championship. That's not good. And so what they tried to do with the original format was, yes, doubly award you for winning a conference championship, so you still value that the way that it should be valued. And this now devalues it, although I did confirm, as I read the rest of Heather Dinch's article on ESPN.com, that they are still guaranteed spots in the 12-team field. So the highest ranked group of 5 champion, or it's the 5 highest ranked conference champions.
Right.
So highest ranked group of 5 champion, I guess group of 6 now with the Pac-12, and then the 4 Power 4 conference champions guaranteed a spot in the field. They just don't get the bye. I do like that they're still guaranteed a spot in the field. I don't like that we've again devalued the conference championship.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're at a disadvantage. I mean, if you're the Big 12, you might as well have a situation where you just go, look, let's not have a conference championship. If we have multiple teams that are 11-1 and they're ranked high enough, who cares? We won't do the extra game. We'll just declare through a tiebreaker situation. I mean, the conference championships is a way for them to make more money. I mean, that's all it is. You look at the Pac-12 conference championships, not well attended, not a big, because you sit here and you're a fan and you go, okay, they're going to go to a bowl game. Like just take Utah in the Pac-12 and they go, we're either going to go to the would I go to the Rose Bowl? Or am I going to go to Las Vegas to the Pac-12 championship game? I'm going to go to the Rose Bowl, so I'm not going to that game.
Yeah,
it's just a waste.
Those Utah ones were well attended because Utah fans travel well and because of the proximity to Vegas. But a lot of those other ones were not, especially the ones in Santa Clara when you first started on the calls.
It encourages teams to fluff your schedule.
It does.
And that's what you don't want to. I mean, they're trying to have great games, great competition, and you don't. No. We don't want that. I none of this is exciting to me whatsoever. Other than every conference gets a team in. That's an improvement from before, but it's still massively slanted to those 2 big time programs. You said we had a caller.
We do. We have Alex from Vineyard calling in. He's got a Utah football question for you.
Alex, what do you got?
Hey, Scott. First off, I wanted to start by saying I've been listening to ESPN 700 for a very long time.
Ooh.
And last year when I found out that Bill was no longer going to be hosting the midday,
Ouch.
I was very worried about who was going to be taking place and how the station was going to do. So first off, the fact that OC's got the midday now and you've got the down and dirty in the morning, you guys are killing it. Like I still listen every day, love your guys' shows, and super thrilled that it can still be a part of my daily regimen.
This is my uncle Alex. He called it. No, I'm just kidding. We don't know each other at all. I really appreciate it. I'm having
course,
fun,
but
just so you know.
anyway,
I love to talk about this stuff, and I love to do it, so thank you.
Yeah, and we love listening. I hope that
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Show out for that. But maybe there hasn't been a lot of news on this recently, or maybe I've just been out of the loop. But I haven't heard much on the recruiting front for Utah football. Last I heard a while back was that we were maybe a little shallow on the depth with wide receiver and defensive line, and I haven't seen much, whether on Twitter or ESPN, on Utah signing guys. So I was curious if you had any inside information or if there have been any updates recently on that.
Well, I know coming out of spring ball, that was certainly a concern in that they needed depth, not so much at the defensive tackle position for sure. They just felt very strong about its defensive ends, and they feel good about their tackles. They just feel like they might need a guy and a wide receiver, no question. I mean, if you wanted my personal opinion in watching spring practice and watching the spring game, the one guy that clearly everyone talked about was Zachariah Williams, and he of course is now at USC. So you're trying to add a guy. I believe they added a guy from I want to say Southern Miss, a wide receiver who Utah recruited, and that's really the only one. I haven't heard anything about the defensive line. James perhaps might have more insight into that.
They did add a transfer, a wide receiver transfer from Cal as well. So they added 2 wide receivers. Neither of them didn't really did much to write home about as far as production, but neither did Zach Williams. And but had the hullabaloo by him leaving, all that hullabaloo from him leaving, and he didn't have much production either. So they lost 1, added 2. Hopefully 2's better than 1 in that regard.
Yeah,
Scott.
But Zachariah looks really good, and he looked good in the he was certainly an emerging player for Utah. That one hurt, and it will hurt. I think the challenge, though, to Alex's point, is it's a little different than it used to be, where they go through spring ball and then they don't see them again, right? And the players kind of have their own thing. They throw to each other. They have kind of their own little practices, and the NCAA has allowed the team to have more interaction. Maybe not so much super organized, but maybe walkthroughs, maybe some film study. Maybe there's some on-field stuff that they can do, which will help, because otherwise it's really hard for a guy to come in this late into the process and really have an impact on the season. It's like right now, no one's around. I mean, May, everything is gone. The players will start coming back, so will the coaches, and they'll have these interactions. So hopefully these new players will be able to come in, and I don't know anything about the defensive front. I haven't heard anything. So hopefully they'll be able to find someone, or who knows what happens.
Yeah, or guys step up that they were anticipating stepping up. We had a texter with a Utah question too. Also, another texter who helped us out, so that he mentioned 2 wide receivers that I mentioned, that you and I mentioned there, and they also got a defensive lineman from LSU. So we both missed the LSU transfer there. So they did add a defensive lineman, according to our texter that just texted.
Yeah, but did this texter get it off the internet? Because you can't believe anything.
We'll verify it here. But another texter asked, and maybe this is going to be one that might take up too much time, maybe revisit another time, Scott, but he wanted to know, in your opinion, Scott, who is the greatest Utah football player of all time, any position?
Wow.
And then second question, best player you ever played with or against at any level? He says, go Utes. So thank you for that text.
Oh, boy. I think it's challenging to say like who the absolute very best of all time is, only because every era.
Because you're trying to be humble. Is that what's going on, Scott?
No. Here's the thing. Well, look, we all I have confidence in myself and in my abilities. You have
the record book shows you should be considered. As well.
And I felt like I was a very good football player. I don't have a problem with that. Man, I would have loved to have played with, in Urban's time or Kyle's time and played in the Pac-12 or played, on undefeated teams and, some of that. And, we didn't quite have the same quality of teams in the era that I was at Utah. So there have been some really, really good players. I don't know. Like Eric Weddle was. I think Eric Weddle got even better and better. I think Steve Smith got better and better when they got to the pros. I mean, I certainly got better as a player in the pros. I think you could even say Alex Smith got better in the pros. And Alex had a really, really good, solid career in the NFL and overcame a lot of things. He was the first pick in the draft and managed his time through maybe. Because it's hard when you're the first pick. You got to be really, really good and have a lot of success. And if not, you're deemed a bust. And he was kind of on that borderline of being that player, but he really weathered through all that very nicely and ended up in a good spot in Kansas City. And then, and I think there's a little bit of sentimentality towards Alex because of the injury he had, which was horrendous, and he came back from it. But, he was certainly really good. Luther Ellis was tremendous at Utah at his time for Utah. Who am I missing?
Zach Moss.
I will tell you, Zach was really good. I'll tell you the player I think had the absolute biggest impact on the program. Was he the best player? Probably not. But I'm telling you, and it was Cam Rising. Cam Rising,
great call.
I witnessed it. I saw it. I saw how everything changed. For some reason, I will never forget this. We're in Los Angeles, and we're at the, I don't even know what the name of the facility is. It's where the Los Angeles
the LA Galaxy's field out in
I don't know
Carson,
what it's called.
Yeah,
right. Because we're playing San Diego State, and they're getting a stadium built, and so we're playing San Diego State in Los Angeles. And Charlie Brewer, who had a great college career, looked like he was really going to be a special player for Utah, is struggling. And he's not good. And I remember Utah's down at halftime, and I'm like, they got to make a change. And the first person out of the locker room sprinting onto the field is Cam Rising. And I'm like, okay, he's going to start the second half. And he didn't. And I was like, oh, shoot. And then he went in, I think, the second series or whatever. And from that moment on, everything changed. And everyone's belief, including the coaches, I think everyone associated with Utah football, it all changed. He went down to USC. He won in the Coliseum, which Utah had never done before. And he just made big play after big play, wins a conference championship, wins another conference championship, beats USC twice in 1 year, beats Oregon twice in 1 year. And a lot of it is on him. And then of course, go to the Rose Bowl. And I believe, who knows what would have happened in those Rose Bowls. They may have come down to the last possession, I don't know, against Penn State or Ohio State, because he got injured. And he got injured with time left in the game. And he could have and probably would have had a huge impact on the outcome had he not been injured. But Cam Rising did some tremendous things for this program and really put the program on a much bigger map or trajectory than it ever had been, ever. And so hands down, I don't know that he's the best player, but biggest impact, no question about it. As far as the NFL, the best player I ever played with, oh boy. Watching Dan Marino every day in practice was like watching Michelangelo paint the Sistine Chapel, or the Sistine Chapel. Like, it was a masterpiece. It
may have been his 16th chapel he painted too.
Yeah,
I don't know.
right, the Sistine Chapel.
No, it's
Yeah.
can be a tough one to say. Yeah,
incredible.
I can imagine Dan Marino.
Barry Sanders running a football. Wow, like it's just so it's indescribable, and to be right there. I mean, to hand the ball off. They get mad at me because I wouldn't carry out my play fakes, but I was like, I want to watch. This is good.
Yeah, I don't want to be turned around.
I don't want to miss this.
Yeah.
And if you turn around for a second, you could miss a lot. So Oh boy, and the thing about Barry that was so amazing is, there's a highlight film of Barry Sanders making Hall of Fame players look stupid. Like it's not just good NFL players. It's some of the very best of all time. I mean, John Lynch is in the Hall of Fame. Rod Woodson's in the Hall of Fame. Cornelius Bennett is in the Hall of Fame. You can just go on and on and on. And there were opportunities where they're face to face, and the Hall of Fame guys just got embarrassed every single time. So he was just a really special talent. And and I played with Rod Woodson as well in Baltimore. Amazing. Jonathan Ogden was a tackle was an amazing player. Ray Lewis, an amazing player that I played with as well. And there were others that were really good that maybe underrated. Herman Moore, of course, was one of the best wide receivers in the NFL during my era.
And a great guest on the Down and Dirty too.
Yeah, and just
a few times.
Of course, yeah, and it's just wonderful. I'll tell you who I think is a super special player is Marshall Faulk.
Oh yeah,
like he was just
he was so fun to watch.
Well,
Scott.
and he was so smart and he was so complete. There were limitations. Barry was small; he couldn't block. I woke up this morning. I'm like, how many passes in my career did I actually throw to Barry Sanders? And I want to say there's like 2 in the whole time we were teammates. And
pass catching not as much of a strength.
He's like, I'm a runner,
yeah.
And so, and he was a great runner. There's no question about it.
Running is in the name, so you can't blame him too much for that.
Yeah. I think the thing that I loved the best or the most about the great players was their kind of how they approached everything. Like they were guys that really. It mattered to them. They practiced. We talked with Coach Gordy Chiesa early on the show. Really loved those guys and just their attitude. There was a lot of confidence. In fact, this whole thing I watched last night about Brett Favre, and I think Peter King goes, every really good player has an ego. And I'm like, every player has an ego.
Yeah.
Right? It's like,
you don't have to put really good in that sentence.
It's every you can say every sports writer or caster has every
person has an ego. Yeah.
So, but in spite of how great they were, there was this sense of, they weren't kind of above things. They weren't above. They were teammates, and that was a really really cool thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also had I was able to confirm we had a couple texters tell us yes, there was a D lineman from LSU, Dylan Battle, the 2 receiver transfers, Tobias Merriweather from Cal and Larry Simmons from Southern Miss. So that's your Alex was asking
what about
for a
Mikey
recruiting
Matthews?
update.
What's he doing at Cal?
I think he's still there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not much though.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Utah lost out on him, but also doesn't seem like he's gonna be able to look back on that and feel like that was the best career move.
Maybe this is a weakness for me. Okay, maybe it's a weakness. I don't know, but I get mad when guys leave. Like I'm not happy about like Gordon Hayward when he left the Jazz. I
there's the door, Gordon.
I have not liked him since.
Yeah,
and maybe that's selfish. Maybe that's stupid. Maybe that
you're the Michael Jordan gif. I took that personally.
Yeah,
you
of
personify
course.
that with
yes.
that. Yeah,
and well, Michael's probably the one guy but see, Michael was on another team, so it's different. But yeah, all these guys in the Junior, not Junior Tafuna,
Keanu Tanavasa.
Yes, Keanu. Not happy with him. I'm not. I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't be that way, but. Zachariah Williams, same thing. I'm just like, really?
Come on.
Like, you were going to be the guy here. You're just going to be a guy. And I know it's like, but it's USC. I get a chance to go play at USC, and they're paying me money to do it on top of it. I get it. But, another thing that makes me mad, since I'm airing all of my shortcomings, I hate it when guys that live in Utah go to college outside of Utah. I'd rather see him go to BYU than to go to Oregon. I'd rather see him. I would. Like, we have a limited talent pool, and if we keep our really good players in the state of Utah, like, we don't have crappy programs here. Like, these players could have such a bigger impact. They could have such a bigger following. It could mean so much more from where they came from if they just stay home. And I know people, I get in this argument with Bill Riley all the time. He's like, no, they need the college experience wherever they're going to get it. And I'm like, they can get the college experience here.
Yeah,
stay home and play.
If you want that out of town college experience feel, then if you're from Utah County, come play for Utah, right?
Right.
I did
that.
Just go. That's out of town. No, I'm with you though, Scott. Like, sometimes that mindset wins out where it's like, hey, like, you have a chance to go experience a new place that's nowhere near home, and you get great opportunity to play, then sure, I'm not going to begrudge someone for that. But then I think selfishly, I'm
sorry, I am.
But I think selfishly, I think what ends up winning out more often is what you're talking about, where it's like, no, but like, we would celebrate you so much more here, and you would be
1,000%.
You would be an even better player, or look much better. The old big fish in smaller pond thing, if you stayed here rather than going to USC where they already have 100 great players.
So why don't we should ask these players and just say, okay, what is it that you don't like about here? Is it you just want to leave? You just want to go away? What? I mean, really? Look, I
do you
know,
hate your family who's still here and loves you?
Do you have
is that what's going on?
Yeah. Do you have dad issues? What do you have? We can work on that. I don't know.
Well, you don't like mountains and great views? Come on now.
I do understand, though, when I was being recruited and I went on my recruiting trip to Stanford, I wanted to go to Stanford. I did. My whole life growing up, I thought, oh, I'll just go to BYU. I mean, I wanted to go to BYU. Why would you not if you're a quarterback in the 80s? I mean, and
you grew up in
Utah
right
County.
by Provo there. Yeah.
I mean, so I get the pull to go different places and do different things, but man, I sure wish that they would stay home. Right now, we need to take a break, though. ESPN 792.1 FM's Festival of Tees, powered by the Utah Golf Association, brought to you by Mountain America Credit Union. Each day, we're giving away free rounds of golf for the best courses in the state and beyond. Listen to the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell from 10 to 11. That's me, the Sean O'Connell Show, from 11 to 2. And The Drive with Spence Checketts from 2 to 6 for your chance to win. Today, we have 18 holes of golf, Mountain Dell. We'll be giving that away during the topical trivia portion of the program, which is coming up in 20, 30 minutes or so. I don't know what we're going to talk about. Well, I do know it. I'm going to talk a little bit about why sports are so great and some things happening in the NFL. Huge news, actually, and some sad news happening in the NFL right now. When we return on the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM.
Game one, rather remarkably, will go to the Dallas Stars, and players begin mixing it up in the neutral zone. Stetcher and Beck have a hold of one another. Kapanen on top of an unidentified Dallas player, all in the neutral zone. And now Stetcher and Beck wrestling, rolling over top of one another. And the referee and linesman will try to separate them. Final score tonight in Game 1 of the Western Conference Final is the Dallas Stars defeat the Edmonton Oilers by a score of 6-3.
Post-game fight last night, 6-3 Dallas Stars win over the Edmonton Oilers. Game 1 of the Western Conference Final. Courtesy Sports USA, John Allers on the call. Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Playoff Eastern Conference Finals is tonight at 6 p.m. in Raleigh. The defending champion Florida Panthers lead the Carolina Hurricanes 1-0. Listen to it here on your home of the Stanley Cup Playoffs, ESPN 700-921 FM.
Getting chippy after game
Little
one
chippy.
last night, Scott.
Yes, little chippy.
Edmonton, Dallas. Really fun game. I've been pulling for Edmonton because Connor McDavid's so much fun to watch. But
Hockey's
great win by Dallas.
Big win. Speaking of big wins, the NFL has finally put this baby to bed, which is so funny to me. They've officially kept the tush push in as a play. So amazing for the NFL that basically pushing a guy's bum is something that's okay. It's not against the rules. I'm shocked and dismayed that they have spent hours and days and weeks, and it's such a heated debate. I mean, the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles, who are kind of the leader of the tush push, and tush push is so stupid. It should be the butt bump. Let's do the butt bump. Tush push. Come on. This is football. Anyways,
I know. I feel like it's just a little too cute of a phrase, Scott. That's how I felt the whole time. I'm like, can we just call it the shove in the back or something? Like what? Like why do we have to?
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. But the Eagles owner said, look, he spent an hour. Jeff Lurie spent an hour debating this and talking. It's like, how long can you talk about one play that's the most simple, the most basic play there possibly is? When we snap the ball, everyone in our team is just going to go forward, and we're just going to push the guy with the ball. I mean, that's about as simple and as easy as it possibly gets. And they talk about this play being like something that could injure a player, or if there's somehow a disadvantage to all of this. Now, every defensive person I've asked about this, and I've asked a ton of people about this, I really have, because I think it's so funny. I think it's fun just to have a conversation about, like, you can't push the guy's bum. Please do not. It's unethical. It might be a little bit too risque for some of our younger fans, so don't do it. Leave it alone.
And don't say but, say tush.
Yes.
Like let's not say the B word there.
But I want to say but wait a minute. but hold on just a second. So it's just fascinating to me. But most of not most of them, all of them said, look, I don't care if you have the play or not. We gotta figure out how to stop it. And they will figure out how to stop. I promise you. When Buddy Ryan and his 46 defense came out in the Bears in 1985, people were just blown away, flabbergasted. Like, this is going to end football. Like, there's no way to. How do you stop this defense? And offensive coaches figured it out. They figured it out. And they realized that there is a weakness to it, and there's a weakness to all of this. They will figure out how to defend the tush push, and the tush push's days are numbered.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy to me, going back to what you said to start this segment, Scott, about this. It's just crazy to me how heated it got. Like,
yeah,
it
was insane.
Is this really worth all this anger about a play that, yes, looks like it's impossible to stop when the Eagles do it in particular, but also, like, why are we yelling back and forth at each other at these owners' meetings, and then all for it not to even be that close to getting
No,
overturned.
it wasn't like a dramatic vote or anything, like, one abstaining person.
This is not that big of a deal.
I vote
It
present.
really isn't.
I vote present. I'm not going to vote yay or nay. I vote present. Okay, so last night, watching this Brett Favre documentary that he had no part of, it really disappointed me, and I was a little bummed out about sports and sports figures and the whole sporting world. And I said, wait a minute, it kind of got me saying, am I doing the right thing in my life, talking about sports every day? And I came away with absolutely. And I want to talk about why sports are so great, because they really are. I'm in the studio here, and there's a television monitor on. Of course, it's attached to ESPN, the TV station, the ESPN, ESPN. And Tyrese Halliburton's shot has been shown about 20 million times today, and it doesn't get old. And that's one of the things that's so great about sports is it's just the plays that happen, the drama that unfolds from all of this. But one of the biggest things I love about sports is it gave me an opportunity to dream. And it taught me to dream, and it taught me it was okay to dream. And I had big dreams as a 10-year-old kid. And it was the coolest thing in the world for me that those dreams I had, they came true. Pretty much all of my dreams related to sports came true. And it taught me that I could do that there was a better way, there was a bigger way, that I could do hard things. It taught me about how to focus on something. And it taught me that about working. When I was a kid growing up in little old Springville, Utah, I played baseball. We had an amazing baseball community and program. And I could throw the ball hard, James. I could throw it really hard. I had no idea where it was going, though. And I would get on the pitcher's mound. I'm in little Bronco League baseball in Springville, and the batter would walk up and he'd start to cry. And then I'm on the mound, and I started to cry. And he was crying because he was afraid I was going to hit him. And I was.
You saw how hard you can throw.
Right. And I was crying because I knew I was going to hit him.
Scott.
And I put kids in the hospital. I hit a kid right in the nose, broke his nose, 2 black eyes. And I was terrible. I was horrible at this.
So you could throw. You threw it well, just not very accurately.
Well, no, I actually was accurate, because in my brain I was like, "Don't hit the kid, don't hit the kid," and all I would do is hit the kid. And so I went in my backyard. We had this brick shed, and I paced off the distance from the catcher's mitt to the mound. I drew a circle on the back of this brick building, and I drew the figure of a batter. And I would sit there for hours and throw a baseball at this wall in my backyard until I could actually throw strikes consistently. And I worked at this, and I worked at this, and I worked at this. And later on, I became a very good baseball player. I had several teams that actually drafted me or wanted to draft me.
Oh.
I was a very good baseball. Started as a freshman as a pitcher in high school. I was a pitcher, hitter, all these great things.
What might have been Scott.
But what it
Scott,
was
the baseball player.
It's been a topic of discussion for me.
Yeah.
But what it was is it taught me how to overcome things that I couldn't do. And so many kids today just want to quit, and because you can't immediately do something. So I had to work at it, and I had to figure it out, and I had to practice at it. And I loved that's what sports taught me to do. One of the other things that I cherish about my experiences in sports was I loved being coached. I loved having someone like analyze my performance and say, hey, this is how you can be better. Let me, or I had coaches who inspired me, who gave me hope, who impacted my life, who said things to me that were so meaningful and still meaningful to me today. High school basketball and football coaches and baseball coaches and coaches in college and the pros that I just have so much respect for and appreciation because they took an interest in me, and they were willing to work with me and help me to be a better player. And I absolutely loved that. I absolutely loved and then just this whole idea about sports, just these amazing moments that you experience. And how, I was talking on the Down and Dirty the other day about what would be the most exciting thing you could do. Throw a touchdown in the NFL, slam dunk in an NBA game, hit a home run in baseball, a hole in one, score a goal in hockey. And my answer is yes. Like they all would
all of it.
Yes to everything. The answer is D or E or F. I don't know how many.
Above.
All of the above. And participating and experiencing sports is just so great. And there's nothing better than just playing with your buddies in the backyard with no care whatsoever in the world, and just that pure enjoyment and love of sports is really, for me, why I did what I did.
That's awesome. And I think all of us who listen to sports radio, all of us who work in sports media, played sports at one point at various levels, like we can all relate to that, Scott. And for me, of course, my first dream was to be a professional athlete. I realized a lot sooner than a lot of people that wasn't in the cards.
How soon for you, James?
I mean, it was probably 7th grade, honestly. And it's not that I wasn't. It's not that I just sucked at things I tried. I just realized there's guys a lot better than me.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't even play varsity level in basketball. Love basketball. Still my favorite sport, always was my favorite sport. But and not even while I was still dreaming to be a professional athlete, I'd listen to Hot Rod call games for the Jazz.
Right.
And as I started to get into more sports than just the local sports, I watched all the games and paid real close attention to the announcers, guys like Kevin Harlan, guys like Joe Buck, who are still doing their thing. Those became the guys like, yes, I want to do that, right? And then I started listening to sports radio, Colin Cowherd, who you can hear on the other station, 103.9, 98.3 ESPN The Fan. Listen to him and go, yeah, okay, I want to do that too. So it really is, sports is just really, it can be such an enriching part of your life, and that's why all of us love it so much, and we get so passionate about it, to the point where we're angry even. But as I get older, Scott, I try to keep sports as a thing that I'm always happy about and not so angry about, because
you're a better man than me, James.
I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm not very good at it, but that's a goal of mine, because I watch people lose their minds. We just talked about the tush push, people losing their minds over the tush push, and it's like, this is supposed to be fun.
Yes, it all is fun. So sports is life. Sports is life, and we love it, and I do love it. With all of its warts and its problems, its challenges, it's just a great thing. Great thing to be a part of, great thing to talk about, and I'm very happy every day to do it. Live Night Events presents the 2025 Granary Live Concert Series, powered by Nightingale College and Murdoch Hyundai, Utah's #1 Hyundai dealer. Experience outdoor concerts in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City's Granary District. Find more details on ESPN700sports.com. Right around the corner, topical trivia, a chance to get some tickets and play some golf. Your chance. Of course, no crosstalk. Spence is actually on remote today. So when we come back here on the Sean O'Connell Show, you can win here on ESPN 700 92.1 FM. Alrighty, sports fans, welcome back. It is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. I'm Scott Mitchell, filling in for Sean today and tomorrow. Of course, you can normally hear me on the Down and Dirty at 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Topical trivia is with 2 tickets to Dylan Gossett 11/11, November 11th at the Complex, 18 holes at Mountain Dell. Part of our Festival of Teas, brought to you by the Utah Golf Association and Mountain America Credit Union. All right, here's the trivia question. The University of Utah had added some players in the transfer portal, defensive players, defensive linemen, and wide receivers. What university did the defensive lineman come from that is coming to the University of Utah? Text 877-353-0700 for your chance to win tickets and golf. Spence Checketts is live at Wasatch Front Kia on Riverdale Road in Ogden. Kia has great deals on new and used vehicles. Go check them out. Join Spence in Ogden from 2 to 6 today. Sorry to hear that Spence isn't here because normally we have a little crosstalk. Apparently, there is some breaking news in the NBA about the Denver Nuggets. What do you got, James?
Yeah, just coming down here in the last few minutes, David Adelman, who did an incredible job as the interim head coach for 10 games for the Nuggets, like 3 of them in the regular season, and then getting them to a Game 7 in the second round of the conference finals. They've removed the interim tag in Denver. Ooh. He is now the full-time head coach going into next season. So congrats to David Adelman. Spence Checketts would have had some great insight on that in crosstalk. He sure to have some good insight on that and other NBA stuff, including the Pacers win last night in the drive coming up here. But congrats to David Adelman, of course, the son of Rick Adelman, the longtime head coach. I remember those Kings Jazz series.
Of course, yes.
Scott with Rick Adelman, Jerry Sloan. I think they were Bulls teammates too. So, so happy for David.
There must be something in the water there. Something was brewing. Someone, I wonder if it was Jokic. I wonder if it was some of the players that said, "Look, we don't like what's going on here." They didn't like what's going on there, and clearly, the change had an impact. So good for him. Good for the Nuggets. We'll see what happens in the long term. For us right now, we're gonna say goodbye. We'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for joining us. So much fun. Thank you, James, for all you do and all the help. And we wish Sean O'Connell Godspeed and return soon.
Sean in another European trip for him. So Scott, you'll be filling in again tomorrow.
Back tomorrow.
We will hear from OC though and do some airing of grievances.
Oh,
with
wonderful.
him. So
all right, this has been the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Have a great rest of your day, and until then, we'll see you then.